All right. So just a little bit of an intro real quick. Gotta say, man.
Too bad.
So welcome to Origins, stories about creativity. You are the #1 guest I've ever had. And
Wow.
I hope that you're going to be the hardest one to get on live. This has been, I was so disappointed yesterday. I got to tell you,
Oh,
I
that's
don't
all
know.
right.
I wish I had just done this, plugged in my phone, and we would have been talking away.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. You are a doctor. Do you go by Dr. Ashton, or how do you like to
I
be
don't
referred?
usually. My students, I have a PhD in cinema studies, so my students just call me Dyrk or
Sure.
Professor.
Professor. Okay. They skip the honorarium of a doctor, huh?
Yeah, I've just never been into that one.
I had a professor in college that was a PhD in creative writing. He kept telling me, "Don't call me doctor," and I just could not help it. It's the army in me.
Right, right.
It's like, you're a doctor, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Saying,
I still think of, when I think of doctors, I still think of MDs.
Yeah. Well, you've got the good fortune of actually having gotten the PhD, so I guess you can make that decision, Dirk. Did you what kind of language did you study?
Actually, I didn't study any languages in college. It
No
wasn't
kidding.
required. No, when I got, it would have only been required for my undergrad, and it was not a component of the Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, which is what I got in film and video production. Now, a Bachelor of Arts had a foreign language component, but the BFA did not.
Oh, I see. I was referring to the doctorate. I thought you had to have like a section of language that you had to translate. So is what kept
No,
me away
not
from
at
doing
all.
it.
No, it that would depend on the PhD.
On the
Most do
PhD.
not.
And I see you've used your PhD too, not only just to study, but to actually make film. You have some
Well,
credits on IMDb.
the production stuff I learned as in my bachelor's, for my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. Those were film production degrees.
And
Um,
where'd you get your BA from? Or
I got those both, the BFA and the master's. I got both from Ohio State University, back
okay,
when they had a thriving film program in the 80s. I'm dating
is it
myself.
done? They don't do film anymore?
They disbanded the degree in the mid 90s, and then they've been trying to bring it back since, but it's not quite what it used to be.
Why'd they get rid of it?
It was a weird funding issue and infighting. It was a department of photography and cinema. It was one of the oldest departments of its kind in the country. And it was under the department, or it was under the College of Engineering, believe it or not.
That's crazy.
Not the College of the Arts. So in the late 80s, they decided they needed to swap it over to the College of the Arts. And there were a whole lot of political shenanigans that went on, including infighting between the photographers and the film people.
Mm-hmm.
In the department. And then, of course, the College of Engineering always had a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
The College of the Arts did not.
Of course not.
So it ended up, they were only there for a few years, and it ended up just being shuttered, basically.
Oh, that's horrible. I mean, there's so many people out there that would love to get film degrees. That's the Buckeyes, right?
That's the Buckeyes.
I've been to that campus. It's nice.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's gigantic. What is it? Columbus? No, is it Columbus?
Yeah,
yeah. Columbus is horrible as a city.
Yeah, it's
either it's horrible or don't go there in the winter. Either or, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, kind of both, maybe.
Maybe.
Don't go in if you're not going to the football game. Don't go anywhere near campus during football games.
And it's a big stadium too. I've walked past it.
Yeah, it's big.
Unfortunately, for reasons I would rather not repeat, because that hospital there is one of the best cancer research places in the country, and my poor mom got to spend some months there.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, but that's great school. I have a on this for them because they eradicated the disease from her body, and she's gotten decades of life left. So
excellent.
Good place. Yeah, good place to matriculate from. So let's talk about some of those credits. I mean, you've got some films underneath your belt too. Is that all in Columbus, or did you go out to Los Angeles?
No, I lived in Los Angeles for nearly 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Um, and, I went out there to work in the film business, but I had also been doing some acting in some short films and low budget features that we were doing, producing back in Columbus. So
Of course.
I had a reel, and I put together a reel and a resume, and I sent it out to some agents. And at that time, it wasn't all on the internet. This was in the 90s.
Uh-huh. When it
Um,
was easier.
yeah, I don't know about easier, but it meant getting a bunch of copies of VHS tapes,
Oh
basically,
yeah.
and sending them out. And I got an agent fairly quickly, and got my SAG card fairly quickly, and worked pretty regularly. Um,
Fantastic. When you get your SAG card, is
in a
it permanent
variety
or
of
do you
things
have to continue to
while
earn
I
it?
was out there, and that ended up being. I mean, I worked in a lot of capacities in the film business, everything from PA and grip and doing set construction. Well, I didn't do any PA or grip work out there, but I did set construction. I ran sound. I did a lot of assistant editing on some low budget feature films.
That's excellent. That's a good skill to have.
Produced some short films, picked scripts and screenplays, and um, proposals for TV series, but I made most of my living as an actor, actually.
That's so when you get your Screen Actors Guild card, do you get to keep it forever? And
Oh
then
yeah, what actually it's a pretty neat guild. Once you're in, see back then, Screen Actors Guild, SAG, and AFTRA, the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, were two separate unions. They've since been combined. It's now SAG slash AFTRA. But once you're in, you're always in. Um, Now, if you don't pay your dues, you simply become inactive. But if you want to start working again, all you have to do is pay any of your annual back dues, and you're in.
how many
So
decades of back dues do you
I'm
have?
still in. I'm still in both. I'm still in the union. Just an inactive member at this point.
Oh, okay. I would love to be a member of the Writers Guild, but that does not seem
Yeah,
possible.
that's a real tough one to get in.
You have to be invited by a producer or something along those lines. And
Yeah, well, there are a number of different ways to get in. Most of it is you get certain amount of points toward your membership, like certain amount of points for writing one television episode, certain amount of points for, co-authoring a screenplay, certain amount of points for um, writing a produced screenplay, or a screenplay that's purchased by, but all of this stuff has to be purchased or produced by a signatory production company or producer of the WGA. That doesn't mean they're a writer themselves, but they're approved by the
it's impressive.
WGA. And
It's
once
really
you
impressive.
accumulate enough points, you can get into the guild.
Yeah, I didn't even try. I wrote one screenplay, turned it into a novel, and basically decided that I liked fiction a lot more than I enjoyed that process. But
There you
and now
go.
you write fiction too.
I do, yes. I
Um,
wrote screenplays. I mean, I wrote fiction, short fiction, attempted a novel when I was younger. But then for years and years, it was just screenplays.
any
And then
any would I have seen any of
I
your work?
decided I was going to write a book.
Yeah. Did you get any screenplays produced? How far did you get along the
No,
process?
nope. I had a lot of almost famous. I had a proposal for a TV series picked up by uh, American Zoetrope Television,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
I know them.
Francis Ford
Hmm.
Coppola's company. But it got turned down by financiers for production, so it was never green lighted.
What was it just?
And then and I had script. I got my scripts in front of and read by people at Scott Free, Ridley and Tony Scott's company,
Uh-huh.
and, at New Line Cinema, but nothing ever purchased. But they made it that far, which was kind of nice.
That's so interesting. Tony Scott passed away a few years ago, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Took his own life, actually.
Oh wow, that's horrible. So you met both of them though.
No, I never met either one of those guys, though I did act in a music video for Ridley Scott's son.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he was also a director, or is also a director.
That's fascinating. So you've had a really interesting life. Do you miss acting at all, or do you still do it occasionally
Mm,
when opportunity strikes?
I really don't do it anymore. It's fantastic when you're working. The problem is you have to work very consistently to make a living.
Yeah.
And the only way to really make a living is to get a recurring role on a TV series, um, or be working in feature films on a regular basis, or book one of those commercials that happens to run forever and ever and ever and ever,
Uh-huh.
um, and become famous and desirable that way. And you can make a ton of money doing that. You know, like the woman who plays Flo on the Progressive commercials and
Hmm.
that kind of thing, or the guy from Verizon that's now doing Sprint, I think, commercials.
Oh, he's doing Sprint now? I
Yeah,
don't have. I cut the cord. I haven't seen a regular
Jared
commercial in
from
decades.
Jared from Subway. I mean, if you can get
Ah,
those kind of things that run for a while, you can make decent money doing that too.
I would not want to get Jared's gig right now.
No, no, yeah.
I don't think he's having fun in Colorado. Um, so that's fascinating. You have had a varied life experience, and now you're teaching film studies at Toledo, University of Toledo, correct?
Well, I teach film studies for three different schools, and that's one of them. But it's all online. I teach entirely online now.
Oh,
Yeah, I was faculty full time at UT for a while, but then left to teach entirely online as an independent contractor. And that's what I do and have been doing for the past nearly 7 years now.
it's tough
And
being in education at this point in
that's
time.
what finally afforded. I mean, I realized once I started doing that, I went and lived after I left Toledo. I went and lived down in Costa Rica for a while,
All right.
and then I came back, and I realized I had time to read again. I mean, I hadn't had time to read a book other than something having to do with cinema studies or student work in
Hmm.
years and years and years. And I had time to read again, and then I realized, you know what? And I've always wanted to get back to writing.
Yeah.
I finally actually could make the time to do that. So
The reading and the writing go hand in hand,
that's how
100%.
Paternus got started.
Paternus. Interesting. A day and the gods come back, right? A big.
Right. Yep.
And what's happening with that at this point?
With the book?
Yeah. You're
Well, it's
indie,
getting
right?
so.
You went completely independent with the publishing.
Yes, I did it
Yeah.
completely. I having worked in the film business, and I actually the majority of my professional background in film is as a producer and production manager, which
Hmm.
is I was breaking down scripts and budgeting and line producing. So the day-to-day operations of a film, production, pre-production, production, and post-production. So and I also have worked in marketing. So the action, even though self-publishing, there are a lot of balls to keep in the air and a lot of things to keep track of, that didn't frighten me. Plus, I've had agents, and I have friends that are professional writers who have agents and publishers, and and some who have self-published. And just looking at the lay of the land, I wasn't really interested in sending out queries again and again.
Yeah.
I've been there, I've done that. I've also had agents, and I have nothing against agents. I have nothing against traditional publishing. I just wasn't interested in doing that. And in fact, one friend of mine is very experienced and a professional author. Told me after he read the book, he said, "Don't, because they're just going to want to change it, and I like it the way it is."
Oh, good. Well,
So Yeah,
That's
there
the
are,
best part about indie publishing is that you get to own your work. You're the
right,
author,
yeah,
you're
and
the
I,
producer.
and I don't have to, I have beta readers, and I have, plenty of people that I trust, that I run things past, and I rewrite and I change things. But I don't have to change anything I don't want to.
Yeah.
And there were specific things that some people have real problems with in the book,
Like what?
but that I like and that I wanted to do.
Well, what was one of the things that
Specific.
people did not enjoy or wanted to possibly change that you wanted to stick to?
Well, it's got a slow start.
Okay.
It's a slow
But it
burn.
takes place in one day. How's it have a slow start?
Well, it does. It's got a slow build, and I kind of like that.
Uh-huh.
I like you kind of light a fuse and set a weird little confusing mystery of some sort. Wonder what the heck is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I like books that build that way. I've gotten personally, I'm not impressed by books that simply start with action, just because everybody thinks that if you don't, audiences will lose their minds, right? And put it down. I'm not interested in feeding the I want it all, I want it now, low attention span, competing with TV and social media generation,
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing. I'm not interested in writing something. I wanted to write a book that I want to read, with my kinds of tastes, because I hadn't been seeing books like that.
Yeah.
So I decided that's what I wanted to do. And, I have a job, and I'm not a kid anymore. So, the idea of, trying to feed pipelines for an agent or publisher just doesn't really appeal to me. Now, that doesn't say I wouldn't, if an agent approached me or a publisher approached me, I would not talk to them. Doesn't mean that. But I'm just not going to chase that kind of thing at this point. Just
I find
haven't.
that's a really awesome way to look at it because you're an artist producing art. It's your art.
Well,
And
yes,
you get to
to
own
a
that art
certain
at the end of the
extent. I
day.
mean, mine's pretty pulpy. And there are a whole lot of regular mainstream folks who really, really like it.
Yeah.
But there are going to be people who don't too. I also chose present tense, which is not quote unquote acceptable
I do the same thing. I'm a present tense writer as well. I
in
prefer it.
adult fantasy. It's more common in YA or teen.
Oh, is it?
Uh,
I did not know that.
but it's not. And I read all of them. I read teen, YA, grade school, adult, mostly fantasy, but sci-fi as well.
But are you writing in YA or is this more of an adult novel?
This is an adult novel.
It is an adult novel. Okay.
Yes. Now I'm actually having a new cover made right now because the cover that exists actually looks YA.
Yeah, it does look YA.
And I've gotten enough of that feedback from folks that I'm actually have a new cover that's being made up right now that I've run past about 15 author friends of mine who really love it. So, and
man, I gotta tell you, when I saw that, I think there's a delay. Is there a delay between me speaking and you hearing me, you think?
No, not on my end.
Oh, I don't know, because I feel like I'm cutting you off like in the middle of your sentences. But when I saw that motion marketing that you did, I don't remember if I commented on it a few months ago.
Yes, the trailer.
That blew me away. That was really well done. The art was fantastic. It was dark. And I'm like, is this the same work or is this a different novel that he's working on? It was a totally different tone.
Right.
It made me interested. I was like, wow.
It's got a different look and feel. Now, that is more true to the tone of the book.
Blew me away.
The trailer is than the current cover. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do a new cover. And going back to the YA or the POV and the present tense is one thing that a lot of people just say is a no-no. The other is
let's go back to that real quick. Why do you think that is? Is it just because what? Yeah.
Well, there are personal tastes, and you can't hold anyone's personal tastes against them. I personally have gotten real tired of first person.
Oh, definitely. I'm with you there. I do not like first person either.
That's just me. I mean, then there's
me
still
too.
great, and there's still going to be great ones, and I'm going to pick one up and I'm going to read it.
Have you read Ready Player One?
And in general, if it's first person, that's already a check mark against it for me.
Have you read Ready Player One?
No, I have not.
I recommend that totally. I picked it up. It's first person all the way through. It's extremely irritating in that sense, but that is a great first person narrative. That character is fleshed out.
It's like anything. Everybody likes to say there's these rules about this or that, or what should be done, and the fact is that for every rule, there are a bunch of books that are brilliant that break them.
Yeah.
Right. Or even if they're not brilliant, they're huge bestsellers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Some of the huge bestsellers out there aren't necessarily appealing either. You have the Stephanie Meyer stuff.
Personally, I might be tired of first person, but I've also become personally. I feel that that third person limited has become so limited that and it's really a relatively new thing. Even Orson Scott Card talks about it in his book, that it's a relatively newer development that grew up through the 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and up to the 90s. And I find, the old omniscient style has gone away. Now, that's not to say that I'm using an old omniscient style that's actually really good. I just decided to not worry so much about having to stick so tightly in a third person limited point of view.
So what you're doing basically is you're exploring the nuances of your characters to as full a possibility as you can.
Right. And I wanted to not have to wait for a break with a dot to show a shift in.
So you're writing gigantic blocks of paragraphs.
This is what people today call head hopping. Now, the term head hopping is relatively new as well. That used to be fairly common in literature. But so I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And it's funny, I had a bunch of beta readers look at it. And this goes back to what you were talking about, why the resistance against the present tense. The only people that were pointing it out and circling it, right, were a PhD and 2 MFAs in creative writing.
Interesting.
And that's because that's the way they had been taught not to do that. The other 15 people who read it either didn't notice at all, or they noticed that it was different and they liked it.
So that's interesting. I mean, I have had the exact opposite experience in terms of my third person omniscient view, present tense. People that I'm allowing to critique the work are saying, "Oh, it should be past tense." But when I was in school, when I was getting my creative writing degree, my present tense voice.
And I specifically made those choices, and but I think it's easy for a lot of people early on to think that they are rookie mistakes, and they aren't.
Yeah.
I did them all on purpose. Now, I say that, I don't mean to say that in a pompous manner. Well, I say that knowing for a fact that there are a lot of people that are just not gonna like it.
No, I understand.
But that's okay, because I like it and I wrote it for me. So the only thing, the only time these kinds of things become issues is when you read reviews from bloggers or whatever who say that this or that is wrong, right, or this or that is bad.
It's taking the brushstroke out of the art, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thing that the news has gotten into, and even science, where they say this existed before that, or this happened, or that happened. Nowhere does anyone say, well, here's my opinion, and obviously I have no idea what's good or bad, right? Or what's really true or not true, but here's what I think. Well, I mean, very, very rarely do you see people say that. And when they do, those are the kind of people you really want to listen to. When people say, well, this breaks this rule, this breaks that rule, this means that this is bad, right? And deserves this low score because of these criteria.
The experts, basically.
That's always just very
Yeah.
strange. It's like, who is anyone to judge art? Now, yes, we can tell when sentences are just poor, and incompetence is pretty easy to point out. But it's I'm pretty open-minded, and I like all kinds of things that other people don't like. And I have a pretty eclectic taste in my reading. And I think it just goes back. It goes back to taste, and some people are going to like it, and some people aren't, and that's fine. That's cool with me. Some people get what I'm trying to do. Some people don't. It's cool. You check out my reviews; they're all over the place. But I think that's good. I think if you're not pissing somebody off, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got tens of thousands of followers on Twitter, which I think that's where I mean, I hate to say the term money, but that's where the money is. Those are eyeballs looking at you, watching you write, and that's impressive.
Right. And and if you look at Goodreads or Amazon, there are a lot of people that really like it, and they aren't complaining at all. Now there are people that really like it, but they say it was slow at the beginning, or they, and it's funny. It's like there are people that will say, I really loved the human characters and wasn't very interested in the mythological characters. And then the very next review is the same 4 or 5 star rating, but they really couldn't care less about the human characters and wanted it to be all about the mythological characters. When I see that, I see that there's a book with something for everybody.
Yeah. Are you working on another piece right now?
Yeah, actually, this is Paternus is the first in a trilogy.
Interesting.
So we're actually working on books 2 and 3 at the same time right now.
How far are you along?
Not far enough. I'd like to be farther. I'd like to be farther along. I'd like to get book 2 out by the end of summer. To be honest, I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. But I mean, it's. I hate to say that because of the fans and people that are waiting. But I mean, part of the reason I self-published was so that I won't have to be. I won't have to rush to get something done that I might not be happy with by a certain time.
How long has it been since Paternus came out?
It will be a year on May 1st.
Oh, okay, that's not terrible. A year and a couple of months for the sequel to come out. That's better than Rufus is doing with his 3rd book in his trilogy.
Yeah, well, he's an exception, but you know what? The old adage that the old kind of accepted idea that authors come out with a book a year, right? That is become the new mantra, especially for self-publishers, but with a lot of the publishing companies, for what as traditional publishing people in traditional publishing as well. Easy for me to say. Is 2 or even 3 and sometimes 4 books a year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But the traditional publishing, they're trying desperately to keep up with the internet, and I find that fascinating in terms of what's going to happen
and that's
going
one
forward.
reason they're really kind of trying to push their authors to do more than a book a year.
They're also buying books off of YouTube from YouTubers that have millions of followers but aren't necessarily trained in writing either. I find the publishing industry an interesting animal right now.
They know that it really doesn't matter if it's any good. They've got some editors that can make it acceptable, but they've got a built-in audience. I mean, it makes a good business sense to me.
Business sense, but we're talking about art, aren't we? Or is it no longer an art? Is writing a
Well,
technical profession?
hopefully it can still be both, right?
Can you?
Because we're never going to be able to have just one or the other.
That is true. I mean, as an independent author, I am definitely learning there's a business side to this whole thing that I'm floundering in. There's a technical aspect to it too that I'm floundering in terms of my blog and publishing, a piece a day. There's an element there that's missing because I have no clue how to market anything other than, putting stuff on Twitter, and that's just basically commenting on other people's comments.
Right. Well, a blog, you're trying to post something new every day on your blog. Wow, that's ambitious. I didn't think anybody did that.
Well, I'm doing that. It's not too hard. I mean, we're talking about flash fiction and some narrative poetry and stuff like that, but
Oh, okay.
I enjoy writing. That's why I do what I do. It's not,
Right.
I have no clue what's going to happen in the future, and my poor wife is, looking at me going, "You're never going to make any money."
Yeah, well,
Ma'am?
it's tough, and this is that problem. The difference between pure, I mean, pure art for art's sake in writing. It simply means you have to be able to do that on your spare time and get your money from another source, either by being independently wealthy or having another job but still have time to write.
Yep.
And not care about selling the book, or you have to devote your time to writing and really hope that it sells so you can pay the bills.
Which was the best part of traditional publishing, was they would handle the gears and the pulleys for you. They would do the technical part to it, and that no longer is the case.
You can just concentrate on your writing. Now that's changed a little bit too, because I mean, even if you look at any of the new, you listen to any of the newer people writing about the business and writing like Chuck Wendig or any number of others, is they talk about, and you hear this all the time now, is that even traditional publishers are making authors do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as social media.
Handling the social media, putting in a clean draft as opposed to something that needs a lot of work.
Right.
Doing the book tours, which doesn't sound too bad. I'm watching John Scalzi's doing his book tour right now for Collapsing Empire. Seems like a lot of fun. Have I? No, I've never, but he's like in your area, isn't he?
No, he's a great guy.
He seems like he's a lot of fun.
He's a really great guy, man. I saw a short recording of him playing and singing with George R.R. Martin out in Santa Fe, and I was like, oh my God, I would love to have been there. I've met them both. I've actually had a chance to talk to John a couple of times.
Well, doesn't he live over where you are, like in Dayton area?
No, yeah, he's actually only a couple hours away from where I am. But I met him, I've talked to him at conferences.
Okay.
Last time was in January at the Confusion conference in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Great place to meet people. That's one of my most highly recommended cons, because it's real small. But you get a bunch of great people there. I mean, like Joe Hill was there this year.
Oh, did you meet him?
And Halsey's there every year, and I actually got to sit and talk to him, take a picture with him. Just got to sit and shoot the shit and listen to him tell great stories. Just there in the hotel lobby bar, one afternoon. He's a really interesting guy.
So you actually talked to him outside of the con at a bar over a drink?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
You get to do that. You get to do that at cons, which is cool. I went to a lot of cons last year. That cost me, but how many times do you write your first book and have your first book come out,
Well, I mean, if you're going to cons, it's fun too. I love I go to New York City Comic Con occasionally when I can get tickets. It's been sold out the last few years, but it's amazingly fun. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know about selling anything there because the whole whatever, anxious or whatnot.
Just meeting these people, shaking their hands, saying hi. It's a blast, and it's also really cool because then they kind of remember who you are.
Yeah.
When you communicate a little bit on social media, on Twitter or Facebook. So
do you twit back and forth with John Scalzi at all? Does he interact with you based on that conversation?
He has responded in the past, but man, he's just got such a huge following. You really can't expect guys like that to to be able to. I mean, he's got a small group of people that he's worked with and known and that are friends for a long time, and actually a
Mhm.
fairly big group. So it's to get in to get a response or immediate or always get a response from people like that is pretty difficult. You can imagine though
Oh yeah, man, I'm on
what that
Twitter.
would
I
be
know.
like.
I follow some pretty, important people. I pissed off William Shatner the other day.
Mm,
He mentioned that he was at the launch of some rocket. I can't remember which one went up the other day. He said the launch just happened, and I responded back, was that a pun or a euphemism? And he got mad.
really?
Asked if my mind was on vacation. I was like, oh. I was actually celebrating that though. I was like, that's a
Well,
victory,
worse things can happen than to get the
right?
attention of William Shatner.
I interacted with the captain, so
That's
he
right.
yelled at me, but that's okay. People have been hit by him in the face.
That's true.
Now, John Scalzi is an interesting writer. I've read Red Shirts, and I'm kind of looking through Collapsing Empire right now. His style is so, I'm not going to say simple, but it seems effortless. It's effervescent in a way. It just kind of sprays you with fiction. You
Right.
can just see him just kind of pounding out the words and
He
just not
just
spending a lot of time editing it, or he's jokey and he's got that humor in there. It's just a really great style, and it
cranks
makes
stuff
me
out
so
too.
mad. What's that?
It's funny, I crack up reading his stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
Red Shirts in particular, he's just like, you know what? Screw it. Every time somebody has a line of dialogue, it's going to say, he said, she said.
Oh God, that drove me
That's it.
crazy though. He said deliberately he was going to do
I'm
that.
just going to do that. And you know what? Of course, that breaks all the rules, right?
Yeah,
You can't do that.
he
But
did it.
here's Skull, and he's best-selling author, and he won a Hugo and a Nebula. So, yeah,
So it's fascinating. He
yeah.
makes me so
Again,
mad
and
because again, it's like he makes it look so easy, and it's like
yeah,
he said, she said after every single dialogue for every single
every
dialogue
single
tag.
dialogue, and that cracked me up. And what's funny is that after a while, I don't even notice because tell the truth, I skip that stuff most of the time when I'm reading anyway.
Do you really? So yeah, I mean that's something that you can
Other than
dump when you're
the
writing,
fact of who it is that's talking, I really don't care how they said stuff.
as long as it's set up right. Yeah, it's right. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yep. And I one thing that has always driven me crazy is you can just skip that and just have lines of dialogue once it's established. Well, once you get past 5 lines of people going back and forth, I forget who's saying what, and I have to go back up, track it back through. So one thing I try to do in those situations is always, at least remind people every 4 or 5 or 6 lines who it is that's actually saying something.
Well, I imagine you're writing the same style I do. You're not using a lot of dialogue to begin with.
What's that?
I imagine you're writing in the same style I do. You're not really using a lot of dialogue in your pages.
Well,
Anyway.
mine actually do. Some of them. There are some chapters and some parts that don't have a lot of dialogue. Some that have very very little. Some chapters, but then there are some that are all dialogue.
Interesting.
Just and including some incredibly long info dump monologues, and that's another thing that the later ones people don't. But one thing that I do, and I did this on purpose, is people talk. You'll see in some of my reviews, people talk about info dumps, and I actually do some of those. I believe that if those are done framed within things that are interesting or a little bit of tension, even if it's just between a couple characters who aren't sure if they like each other. I actually am a real fan of books and authors where they get that shit out of the way early on. Nothing drives me crazier than finding myself 3/4 of the way through a book and I really find that I really don't know much or anything about the backgrounds of this character.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll find out something and I'm like, what the hell? I should have
Well, that
known
just
this
changes everything.
by page 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of stuff drives me crazy. I would much rather suffer through a little bit of background information way early on
Yeah.
and get it out of the way.
No, that's wonderful. And at the same time, I understand.
Not have to worry about it. Now, so the reason I wrote the book that way is because that's what I like. I'd like to have that information. I like to have that information up front. I don't want to have to wait for it. I think that this, well, you got to balance and weave it all through.
No.
Well, to a certain extent, that's true. But I think that way too many books are thin on character development because they don't do it, or they're revealing things that are important far too late.
Yeah.
And by then, it doesn't matter to me anymore when I'm reading. I'm just saying that this is what I see, and this is my personal taste in books and in reading. I'm not saying this is the way it should be, or that other people should like the way, or that other people should like the way I do it or what I like. I'm not saying that at all. Unlike a lot of bloggers and reviewers who insist on saying it should be like this because this is the right way and it is good and anything else is bad.
No, I definitely agree with you.
I just have to shake my head when I hear that.
Yeah. I mean, what you want is a third act that flies. What you want is a third act that is all action. I mean, you've set that up. That's what you did. I mean, you've gone to the buffet and you started with the salad and you started with the healthy stuff, but you want that third act to just be all fried foods. You want it just to be the most yummy thing you put in your head all day long, basically. I mean, that's why write? I mean, you've set up this whole story to have this fantastic conclusion. And that's what you're doing. I mean, I totally agree. If you're setting up a character at the last few sections of your book, you've done something horribly wrong. There's no point in surprising anybody by that point.
Yeah, and there are plenty of people that do, weave those things through extremely well, but most don't, in my opinion. And a lot of times I find myself just frustrated, just like I find myself frustrated by extremely narrow third-person points of view. I just found myself. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
And there are, most of the most brilliant books that I've written are like that.
We talked about John Scalzi. He's a very, very limited view.
It's exactly like that. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to try something far more open, far looser in POV.
It's interesting that you're doing that. So, I mean, as far as being an independent writer, do you read other independent writers?
Oh, yeah.
Who are you reading?
Yep. Lately, I have read mostly independent, just in the last 6 or 8 months, I guess.
No, I'm not talking about Andy Weir or Stephanie Myers or anybody that's gotten extremely popular. I mean, who are you reading?
Or like, Blood Song.
I don't know who that is.
Ryan.
That's Ryan.
Anthony Ryan. He's got The Waking Fire and all that great stuff now. But his first book, Blood Song, was self-published at first, but then it was picked up by Tor, I believe. And he's, a traditionally published author at this point. But like Michael J. Sullivan, Age of Myth, is a self-published author, and extremely successful, and he remains that way. Michael R. Fletcher, and is an independent, though he would like to go traditional. But I've been reading a lot of the folks involved with the Mark Lawrence's SPFBO, that self-published fantasy blog off. That's been going on for a little over a year now.
Mark Lawrence is what?
You know who Mark Lawrence is? Mark Lawrence is traditionally published, Gamble Award-winning best-selling author who wrote the Wheel of Oshheim, the Jorg books, Prince of Fools, Prince of Thorns, and his new one is Red Sister, just came out.
Okay.
The first book in a new trilogy. But he sponsors this thing. It's the second year in a row. It's a competition for self-published authors They take 300 submissions, and then there are 10 bloggers who each get 30 of those, and they narrow it down to one. So then you have 10 finalists, right, out of 300 entries, and then each blogger reads and rates those, and then at the end you have a winner. So I've met a lot of people through that and gotten a lot of publicity through that. In fact, Paternus would probably be entirely unknown, except if it weren't for that. But I've been reading a lot of books, like Ben Galley's Heart of Stone, about a stone golem recently. Right now I'm reading, well, I'm also reading an ARC of A Gathering of Ravens by Scott Oden, who's traditionally published. I'm looking at this copy of Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I can't wait to get into that. But yeah, I read a lot of independents.
Interesting. How do you think the independents are doing compared to traditional right now? Do you think
I
traditional staying?
I think some of this, a lot of this, some of the books are just as good, if not better. I don't think that. I mean, yeah, there a large portion of self-published work is not great.
The slush pile is huge.
Yeah, but a large portion, in my opinion, of traditionally published books are not great either.
A lot of them aren't. Yeah.
Sorry to say. So there's a certain, you know, and I used to, a couple of years ago, I would have said that traditionally published books are far better edited and proofed. But I have read some by Penguin and Tor and big authors with high paid editors that have just horrendous continuity issues, repeated sentences, proofing issues, really inconsistent, bad inconsistencies in tone. And I think part of that is their rush to compete. I really don't understand that, because that has always been, that has been traditional publishing's true true banner, right? Is that kind of high quality. And I've seen that
error-free publishing.
And I've seen that falling in the last few years. Some of
it. Do you think that indicates that traditional publishing is not keeping up? That they're actually, I mean, I know they're failing, but do you think that's a sign that what's to come is going to be?
I don't know. I have nothing against traditional publishing, but anybody, when people say that something that's not traditionally published is automatically worse,
it's not true.
or that any book, someone says this book could really have benefited from some professional editing, such as a traditional publisher's editor, they're full of shit. Because yes, there are fantastic editors. Yes, there are fantastic agents who help shape stories. But then I see books from the biggest publishers, right, that really are not good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Just in my opinion. But they have just as many problems. Now, I think that there's certainly less of a percentage of traditionally published books that are just plain bad,
yeah, than
in self-publishing. But that's because, you know, anybody who wants to can just publish a book.
You know what's really interesting?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of garbage. So there is a certain amount of filter in traditional publishing that helps keep the quality, the average quality higher.
Yeah, but you know what's really fascinating to me is that back in the day when you had the gatekeeper, basically the slush pile, the cream of the let's say the cream of the crop was picked off the top. Those people doing the decisions were actually ones on the bottom of that slush pile. The ones who were failed writers. And now, because everybody's actually publishing online, there are no failed writers. Everybody's publishing. So
right, anybody who wants.
where are the editors at? That's what the problem is there's no independent editors going, you know what, I'm going to take this in hand and I'm going to make the independent publishing field a stronger market, because they're all writing books. They all want to be published and sell.
Right, and and none of that is a bad thing or marks an evil. It's just a sign of the times. It's just the way things are.
So what's the future going to be, though? I mean, are we all just going to be giving free content out?
Well, yeah, there's always that push that everything should be free, right?
Well, everything is free. I mean, you don't have to buy anything if you don't want to.
Oh well, yeah, and if you want, you can find just about anything and pirate it.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are great advantages to going traditional publishing. You can, they've got legal teams that most of us self-publishers just could never afford.
But what's a legal team going to do? Sue everybody?
Well, no, but they can afford some protections.
It's the interesting thing is, if I wanted to download Paternus right now, I probably would not be able to find it. But if I wanted to download Collapsing Empire, I can get as many copies as I want and hand them out to my friends. So John Scalzi's not making any money off my.
I thought of it that way, but yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, you're more protected than the traditional publishing because the spotlight is on John Scalzi at the moment.
Right. Yep.
He's suffering.
I would hope that the publishers would be out there trying to shut that down.
It's not happening.
But I have no idea.
It's not happening. And the interesting thing to me is that the nature of the writing world itself is nobody's making any money. And if that's the case, if that's the nature of the world, if that's the way things are going, that's the way the tide is going, what does that mean for our future? And how do you stay out of it?
Yeah, for the writing future. Well, even traditional published authors will say, it is very, very difficult for a traditionally published author to make a full-time living writing. Even if they're getting big releases from Orbit, it doesn't matter.
No.
You can have a nice big release from Orbit once a year, or even twice a year, every year, and still not really make enough money to survive, to be able to quit your day job.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least not have some other supplemental form of income.
But what does that mean for the future, though? That's the question. I guess
well, it's always been like that, honestly. We can't act like that's a new thing.
Well, you look at Stephen King, though, or your Anne Rice's, or your Mishners. They're millionaires.
An author, even 30 or 40 years ago, didn't, and wrote your whole life, didn't ever mean you got rich.
No, I understand, but that's like the small. I mean, not even small. You still had the cream. I don't even know if Stephen King is making enough money right now to actually classify as the best-selling author that he once was.
Yeah, he is.
You think so? I mean, look at his son, Joe Hill. Same situation. Who's Joe Hill? I know who he is. You know who he is. But the average Joe on the street doesn't know who he is. He's not producing.
Yeah, but he does. I think he's doing just fine as well. Because there are low level, then there are mid list authors, and then there the big list, the top authors, and the top ones, of course, all do really well. But there aren't a lot of people that become millionaires as writers. And the cream rises to the top thing is just as false in publishing these days as it is in the film business. Publishing has become, and my experiences in the film business, but they're very, very similar. And the publishers have taken on a lot of the kinds of practices that the film business has been using for years. And the cream in the film business, the cream does not rise to the top. And you'd think it would, because it costs, between $100 and $500 million to make one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're expensive.
But look, there are what, three to five feature films come out and get a new one gets released every week, right?
Yep, or every other week.
Go to the Cineplex and see all those films and tell me you really believe that is the best.
Yeah.
That this country or world has to offer as far as directing, acting, storytelling, screenwriting, all of it. Obviously not. Half of it is garbage. half of it is garbage.
Half of Passengers was garbage. Is that an incomplete film?
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, that traditional publishing has kind of gone that way too. They're looking for that. There's no time really for a book to build. Just like it used to be that they would release a film and let it build, let it get what they call legs, right?
Yeah.
Publishers, they might make a deal for a trilogy, and if that first book doesn't perform exactly the way they want it to, they might cancel that contract. You might never see those other two books. And they want to see a certain amount of money come in at a certain time. It's a bit more, not entirely, of course, there are your boutiques, but it's moved more toward that blockbuster mentality, right? Big opening weekend, super broad audience as possible. And it didn't used to be that way as much. And they've had to do this because to compete.
Yeah.
So yeah, the cream does not always rise to the top. What they're looking for is not, it's just like in the film business. Publishing is not interested in art. And you can't blame them.
That's the business side. Yeah, absolutely.
They are businesses. They are there to make money, just like the film. People like to whine and cry about the poor artistic quality of films. It's like, wake the fuck up.
Well, I mean, you have to look at the classics, though.
Get rich and fund your own movies and make them exactly the way you want to make them.
I guess that's where the independent publishing field is right now. But I'm looking at like Ernest Hemingway or Virginia Woolf, who
it's the same way with traditional publishing. It's they do what they feel they have to do in order to survive and profit and support their bottom line, and to hopefully, God forbid, actually grow and make real money.
Well, that's my point exactly. Back in the day, let's say you look at American literature or British literature in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. You had people that were breaking the rules, like a John Scalzi, who decides that he's going to, put dialogue tags all the same to the first part of his book. You have people like Virginia Woolf who are they're redefining the term of omniscient narrator. You have people like Ernest Hemingway who, redefine the term of, short, punchy sentences. You have people like Daryl Hammett, defining noir. And who are those right now? Unfortunately, I think you have to have some art in your publishing, or you're just going to be producing the same crap over and over and over again.
Well, yeah, and there's always the risk of that. And
I think that's where we're at right now. I mean,
it's like film, trying to find something that's exactly the same but different.
Yeah.
But then, there are books that come along that surprise the crap out of everybody, right?
Andy Weir is a great example of that.
That make a ton of money, or
makes a ton of money, makes a great movie.
Or there are books that a publisher will put out and they really won't put much behind it. They don't think it's going to have that much of an audience, so they don't, they give it kind of a half-assed effort in marketing, and it ends up really taking off. You just never know. Now people can say, I knew this was going to be a hit from the very beginning. Well, for every one that's right, there are 50 people who said that and were entirely wrong. I have no idea what the expectations were for, a 24-year-old kid's sci-fi book that defies any real laws of true physics, and is awfully reminiscent of the Hunger Games and Maze Runner, but becomes, an enormous hit, like Pierce Brown, with Red Rising. I love those books. I devoured them, all three of them. They're YA. He writes in a very strange style early on that's really kind of jagged and almost unnerving. I've talked to a lot of young people who love those books who said they really didn't like it for a while. Cocky 16-year-old kid, blah, 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 same old crap.
with
But
mommy and daddy's
it
wallet,
takes a
though.
turn. It takes a turn. He has a style of writing, and he has a way of storytelling where he just keeps you. I mean, just when you think something, everything's going to go one way, even though you might not like it, something's going to change, and he's
Yeah,
going to shock you. I have no idea what people were thinking, but I mean, those books were huge, and he's got, I think it's a 3-picture big movie deal
it's
with
amazing.
Hollywood.
It's a
Um,
mystery. I mean, it really,
yeah,
honestly,
and
it's a
I have
mystery.
no idea if anybody thought that those were going to be huge or not, because they were coming at the tail end of when everybody was kind of whining about, this this dystopian future stuff. But he made it different enough that, honestly, I didn't even know that's what it was, and didn't even consider it that way until I was like 3/4 of the way through the first book.
It's amazing.
So yeah, I found that pretty interesting. I mean, who knows what's going to do real well and what isn't?
It's like, I guess that's, gambling on the stock market. You just don't know what's going to rise and
Really?
what's going to fall. I mean, if you had United stock 2 weeks ago, you were in a lot better situation than you are now after a scorpion and a broken nose. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I just keep going back to him. Andy Weir's Egg. Have you read that? The Egg.
No,
It's a short story.
no.
It's amazing. It's been translated into 27 languages. I just made that number up, but it's been translated into a lot of languages. It's 600 words, 800 words. It catapulted that guy into
That's
stardom.
it? 600,
Ah,
800 words?
it's a short story about a guy who has an accident. He has a car accident. He dies. He goes to heaven. He meets some kind of deity who says, okay, this is the situation with your existence. Now go back to earth and live another life. It is short, it's sweet, and it has made him a multimillionaire.
Weird, because that's what got people.
A short story.
That's what got people to start reading The Martian, huh?
That's what got people to start reading The Martian. He got
Because
famous
you
off
just
of the Egg.
described that to me, and it reminds me of about 7 other short stories or novels and 8 films that I've seen.
Yeah, that's not unique. I mean, in terms
Your
of
description, your
death
description,
fantasy,
your
there's tons.
description could have described it. I was just like, you're got to be kidding me.
No. Hey, I will send you a link to the story when we get off the phone here, and you'll read it in
Well,
like
you never know
5
why
minutes.
certain things catch on. Honestly, I've never read any of Hugh Howey's work, but talk about a self-pub phenomenon.
I've never read it. I've never read them either.
Yeah,
I have
huge.
a horrible time finding good fiction. I have a really, really horrible time, and I'm so picky. I love history.
Yeah,
Howie, you Howie. I'm just writing down names that you're telling me.
Hugh Howey. Hugh Hughowey.
EY,
I haven't
okay.
read any of it, and not because I don't want to. It's just because my TBR pile is insane.
Yeah.
It's funny. 2 years ago, I was looking online to see what the next thing might be I want to read, like who was recommending what.
Yeah.
And so I picked up 3 Parts Dead by Max Gladstone and loved it. And I picked up City of Stairs because people were talking about that, and I loved it. And then one of the groups on Goodreads was going to read Girl with All the Gifts. I had no idea it was a zombie story, or I never would have started to read it. But that ended up being one of the favorite books I've read in the last 10 years.
Girl with All the Gifts.
Girl with All the Gifts, just amazingly well written, and interesting. Just he's got a real way with voice and POV. And it's a fairy tale. I mean, it's got you might not pick up on that, but it started to feel to me. I realized there's a wicked witch. There's the little steps. There's the Cinderella kind of character. There's the fairy godmother. There's the gruff protective knight in shining armor of sorts. They're all a little twisted and all a little different, but it's really this bizarre fairy tale.
That
I
brings
mean,
up a great point as far as Aristotle's Poetics. He laid down every single possible plot that you could have, and it's up to you to make it interesting and unique.
right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It's not going to be, I mean, you're not going to cookie cut a story and then expect it to be popular. You really have to just throw yourself into it as hard as you possibly can. And then hopefully at the end of the day, you produce something that's readable, that engages.
Right.
And it's not going to be one of those slow burns either. It's going to catch on. Are you familiar with Wattpad?
Yes.
Are you on Wattpad? Do you use
No,
No. Man, some of those guys and girls, they put up a couple chapters and they just good. How come it's resonating with people?
I have gone and I have read some of it and wasn't impressed. I read some of it and I was. I just don't work that way. I don't crank stuff out and then just throw it up, give it away. Do
you write short fiction?
I'm a painfully slow writer. I have not seen the benefit to and you know, like anything else, you have to weigh it against the amount of time it takes to get on there, get it posted, pay attention, see what's going on, continue to put stuff up. I mean, there are a lot of authors who swear by it. I just don't.
A lot of authors have made their career off of it.
So many hours in the day and only so many things you can really pay attention to, or I just lose my mind.
It doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of what they're actually doing and the popularity that a lot of them are getting.
Yeah,
I didn't get it either. I mean,
it works for a lot of people, but you know, and then people say, "Oh, you need to be on this. Oh, you need to be on that." You can just only do so much, and still actually get to write, and still actually get to do your job that pays the bills, and you know what I mean. It's just, but yeah, today I was saying that I used to be looking for what I was going to read. Now, man, because I'm in contact with so many people on social media, so many things I run into that I want to read. My to be read list is huge. I'm reading, you know, I'm trying to read through just about everybody's stuff that is in this SPFBO I was talking about. So I'm reading Blood Tainted Winter by T.L. Greylock right now, and then I need to read this ARC of Scott Oden's A Gathering of Ravens, but I also need to read this book, an independent publisher, Cthulhu Armageddon by Phipps.
I want to read that right now.
Yeah.
Just off the title, it's like, oh, come on. You're going to throw Cthulhu at me? I'm going to read it.
I really want to read that. I really want to get to this Kings of the Wild too, but I've got to get through these other things. So.
Dyrk, you need to start putting a blog out of all these books that you want to read, because honestly, I'm fascinated with all the things that you've actually found.
Oh, really?
I mean, I asked you one question. I'm like, dude, tell me about your independent author list, and you've given me at least 50 titles of books that I never heard of before.
Boy, I could.
You really could, and I don't see why you shouldn't. I mean, this is bait. The world that we're in right now, the independent film, the independent book world needs a maven, and you are a freaking maven. You know what you're talking about. I'm fascinated
right here. And I've just got Heart of Stone by Ben Galley, Gathering of Ravens, Kings of the Wild, Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology I haven't gotten to. I got Gaiman's Neverwhere, which I've never read. I've got David Benham's What Remains of Heroes, Michael R. Fletcher's Ghosts of Tomorrow, J.P. Ashman's Black Cross, which I have read. And there's Josiah Bancroft's Senlin Ascends, which I have read. But I have not read Arm of the Sphinx, which is the sequel.
How long does it take you to read a 400-page book?
And you know, and that's a mixture of traditional pub and self-pub work.
That's your strength, man. I have not read Paternus, but as far as the story that you told me, it sounds interesting. But the passion in your voice when you talk about what you're reading. I'm sorry, what?
You know what to look for that you might hate now.
What? It's what? No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like,
you know what to look for in the book that you might hate.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. But you know what? I'm a horrible reader.
My head hopping in my info dumps and my present tense.
You know what I am?
Slow build.
Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the slow build, but I really think that if you don't get it all out by the third act, nobody's going to get there anyway. You know what I mean? You have to catch them and have to be hooked by like the first. I am that person that'll pick up a book and I'll read the first paragraph. If I have no interest, I'll put it down and try something else.
Yeah,
I am not
I
picky.
will do that if I haven't heard other things about it.
Oh, really? So if you hear good things, you will read the entire
I mean,
novel.
if it's a book I pick up cold at the bookstore, and I'm not that interested in the description in the back, and I open it up and I read the first couple paragraphs, and if I'm not that interested, I'm not going to buy it. So the books that I give a chance to are ones that I've heard more about. And I never quit a book. I mean, if I've heard about it and I think I need to read it and want to read it, I'll never quit a book earlier than 50 or 100 pages in, and that's very rare that happens.
And that's
very
a good
rare.
place to decide whether or not you really enjoy the piece. Something.
Yeah, and then I'll skim through and see what else, see if maybe I'm missing something. And there are books that I have wanted to put down, but I stuck with because of what I had heard, and then I was really, really glad that I did.
Name of the Wind.
Some of the most exciting, some of the best books I've read in ages, like Dan Simmons' The Terror.
Is it horror?
Yeah, it's kind of it's historical fiction horror. It's really cool. But yeah, it's got some of that like O'Brien kind of description that goes on forever, and then scene after scene that you're like, oh, come on, let's get on with it. But man, when it was over, that's one of the books that I thought about for days, for weeks afterwards, and that rarely happens.
Oh, it's an excellent feeling.
Yeah.
So rarely happens to me.
So, and the reason I picked that up is that was on a list of books that nobody's reading that they really should be. One of those kind of lists.
Mm-hmm. The one that you should be writing and producing and sending me links to, so I can check out all this good stuff and start reading some.
Right.
This is your special skill, man. This is your superpower. I can't believe that you've got all these books that I've never heard of.
Well, it's just from talking to people on the social media, and I'm sure you're on Facebook. I'm sure you see people talking about stuff. I'm sure that's how you heard about Cthulhu Armageddon.
No, you just told me about it. I'm saying I'm a Lovecraft fan. You said Cthulhu. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to read that now. I'd never heard of it before. I'm on Reddit. Reddit is my social media. That's where I do all my writing. That's where my fiction book gets born. That's where I learn about books. I'm totally on there, and I am not a maven when it comes to fiction. I follow everybody else's ideas and suggestions.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm on Reddit some, but mostly it's Twitter and Facebook at this point.
Facebook, I am not a Facebooker.
I really have to be careful because I can spend way more time doing that stuff than I should.
What do you think? What did you think your special? How did you get your followers?
My special power?
No. I know what your special power is. I've already decided. No. I'm just wondering, how did you get the number of followers on Twitter? Because I'm stuck at 674. It is not going up. It is. Well, it is like honest, permanently stuck.
The trick for me. Well, I don't know. I don't get political, but that doesn't matter because people get hundreds of thousands and they're political all the time. Mm-hmm. Not that I don't care about politics. I just don't care to air my laundry or talk about it on mm-hmm. Twitter or Facebook.
I'm with you.
But mostly I just try to be myself. But the real trick, to be completely honest, is you have to follow people.
And then they say don't follow people. If you follow too many people, then it looks bad.
There are two camps as to how to work your Twitter, from a business side account. And one is that it doesn't matter how many followers you have or how many people you follow. Nobody cares. when it comes to the rankings, you'll see people in the top 0.01% of influencers as rated by Twitter who have 100,000 followers and they follow 100,000 people, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they'll tell you it doesn't matter how many people you follow. It just doesn't matter. And yet others think it looks cooler and is better if you have 20,000 followers and you only follow 300 people. And that is awesome, but the only way to do that is if you become famous.
Yeah,
right.
Will Wheaton.
And to be honest, most of us are not going to become famous. Now, a lot of the followers, I mean, I get followers because I follow people and I follow them back. If people follow me and they seem cool and they're not just posting, you know, they're obviously not just bots or posting porn or, you know, graphs of, you know, God knows, you know, he squeezed this on his face and look what came out.
Oh, okay.
You see those constantly, right? I unfollow that stuff or ignore that stuff constantly if it happens. But if people aren't doing that, I go ahead and follow them back. It's just a common courtesy as far as I'm concerned. I don't care because I do look at my feed, but mostly I'm looking at I get notifications from people I really want to hear from. So I know stuff that's going on that they're doing. And, you know, I move that around a little bit, but I try not to spend too much time messing around with that stuff because I don't know how important it really is. But I got that many followers because I follow people back. I don't have any problem with that. Plus, I'll go out and I'll follow a bunch of authors that look interesting.
That's
right?
benefited me
And then
too.
what
Following
happens
a bunch of
is
people.
that a whole bunch of those follow me back.
Yeah.
And I
That's
also, you
definitely a
know,
good point.
I've picked up followers because of some friends that I have, because of my acting background stuff. There are people that are huge fans of Night of the Living Dead, the remake, you know, and I played a zombie in that. So I get, you know, hundreds of my followers come from that. I just happen to know from Los Angeles, good friend of a friend, and I've hung out with him a little bit, is Mike Cudlitz from who played Abraham Ford on Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
You know, and he's got 600,000 followers, and he follows like 1,000 people, and he followed me. You know, and I actually said, "Shh, everybody, don't look," but Mike Cudlitz just followed me, and I hashtagged Walking Dead. Within 3 days, I had 350 more followers.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, just silly stuff like that. So yeah, I can pick up a few like that. But you know, the only way that I got the amount that I have is I have actually actively gone out and followed people. You know, I just do, and a lot of them follow me back. And that's how
And
I
they
get
do.
it.
Absolutely.
Followers. Now, you know, what percentage of those people will ever buy my book or really actually interact with anything that I post? Pretty small. But yeah, you know, it looks good as a number, I guess.
That's the frustrating thing is how do you actually sell books? How do you rise to the top?
You know, I'm in some private groups and some other groups, and I talk to other authors too, and I read the blogs and I get onto K boards on occasion, and mostly what I've learned is from these other cool folks from the SPFBO, and they know you know, how to use AMS, Amazon Marketing, and Facebook ads, and how to do promotions and cross promotions and getting involved in this and that, and the fact is you can do all that you want and still not sell a book. You can be really good at that and still not sell a book. A lot of it is just luck and what catches on.
Exactly. I guess that's true. Keep writing, right?
I mean, it really is. I mean, of course, yeah, it helps if you have a good book, but there are good books that don't sell.
Oh no,
that do terribly.
You could write a horrible book. Look at Stephanie Myers. You look at that.
Well, you know, it just happes, or 50 Shades of Grey.
That's another one I was going to mention. I mean, these are not great pieces of literature, and they made millionaires out of their authors because they just
hundreds of
like lightning.
Yeah, they hit right place, right time with the right market, and you know, there are enough things that appeal to people that, you know, it is what it is.
It's very interesting. Well, I have definitely enjoyed our conversation. Did you want to mention anything before we leave?
No, I really don't have anything other than, just plugging, go to Amazon and check out Paternus, Paternus.
I linked you in the notes. I'll
Awesome.
publish this video. I got to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. This is a great conversation. You've made a lot of
Thank
great
you,
points.
Brian. I meet people online, on Reddit, on Facebook, on Twitter, but to actually get to talk to them is always a joy.
They say make friends, and I liked your tweets. You've always stuck out to me. I don't really follow many people, but you've stuck out to me. You seem like a nice guy, and I'm really happy to learn that you are.
Well,
This
thanks.
is a really
I've
great
got you
conversation.
fooled.
What'd you say?
I said, I've got you fooled.
Oh, there you go. That's all that matters. It's politics, right?
No, I've had a great time, and I love talking to folks. So.
Yeah, me too. Well, Dyrk, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again.
Let me know when this is up. Get me a link, and I'll blast it out.
Sure. It's up on YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube, but as far as like publishing it as a podcast, I'm gonna wait until I have 4 or 5 of these collected.
Okay.
I've got interviews all the way until June. I've got Brian Rathbone on my list of potential interviews too. Do you follow him at all?
I don't
He's
think
great.
so.
He's great. I love his tweets, and I'm really looking forward to that conversation. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers too. He does what you do. He follows back, and he's
Cool.
just got great, fun dragon fantasy stuff. It's just recommend him.
Check it out. God, there's so much stuff.
Oh man, tell me about it. If you want to be entertained, now's the time to be alive, I guess.
Yep.
Yep. All right, Dyrk. Again, thank
Brian.
you so much. And we'll be in touch on Twitter.
Okay, thanks.
All
Take
right.
care. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. And that was Dyrk Ashton. It was a great conversation. Check Dyrk out at undyrk at Twitter. You can also view his novel, Paternus, on Amazon. Our next episode will be with Jason Abbott in a few days. Thanks for showing up. Look forward to interacting with you on the internet.